What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Brand to Table podcast. We have another amazing guest today. Guys, you're going to learn a lot from this gentleman. He's been in the game 20, 30 years at this point, and just a phenomenal individual, very passionate about the industry, very passionate about business, very passionate about his guests and who he serves. And without further ado, I want to introduce Dante Ismail from Pizza One. What is going on, dude?
Hi, Henry. How are you?
Dude, I was thinking about this sit down and I was laughing because I start to see a trend of how I meet operators. And it typically starts with me either leaving some sort of review, good or bad,
Absolutely.
on your restaurant, and you, the operator, responding. So let's talk about how we met and where that went and how we became good friends to this day.
Yeah. So, as you remember, you came into my restaurant, and you had a meal, and you had a complaint. So you reached out online. I saw your review online and your message. And right away, I reached out to you. And that's really what I do with all my customers. We ended up hitting it off and, we became friends.
Now, mind you, I did not do this publicly. This was a private message. And I just explained, like, listen, I'm in the industry. A couple things I saw today. I love coming here. He has a restaurant in my town in Sparta, New Jersey. And we come here a lot. And I was like, you just need to know this because I think you could fix this quickly so it doesn't happen again to another guest. And boom, within seconds, next time I come in, it was it was like the red carpet rolled out, and it was nuts. But yeah, there seems to be a trend there, and I just want to share that because it was a funny story. Because I was kind of thinking he's gonna read this and be like, another jerk off complaining. I get enough of this shit. Like, I'm having a bad day. Go. But no, you responded so politely, and you heard it, and you took action. So,
absolutely.
So let's talk about Pizza One, right? How did Pizza One come to life, and what inspired you on your first location?
So Pizza One came to life. I always knew that I want to be in the pizza business. It started off in 1989. I went with my uncle to Willowbrook Mall, and as soon as you walk in Willowbrook Mall, the food court there, on the right-hand side is a pizzeria, Bravo Pizza. We sat at the tall stools at the bar, and we ordered a couple slices. And while we're sitting there, the manager's his name was Steve. I still remember it till this day.
Oh, my God. I was 9 years old.
Yep. So he came up to me. I was 10. So he came up to me, and he goes, "Hey, bud, how are you?" And I'm like, "How you doing?" He's like, "You enjoying your pizza?" I said, "I love this pizza. This pizza is amazing." He goes, "Oh, is that something, you want to see how we make pizzas?" I said, "Absolutely." He actually took me, and he brought me around the counter, showed me their pizzas, where they make the pies, showed me their kitchen and walked me around the whole store. And I was so impressed. And from that moment on, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Oh, at 10?
At 10 years old, I said, this is what I want. I like this. I enjoyed it.
Well, there you go. That's why you're in the game this many years later, right?
Exactly.
So what were some of the biggest lessons you learned? Because now you're going on store number 4.
That's correct, yeah.
So what were some of the growth lessons as you started to create multiple locations?
So you really can't copy and paste the same exact formula that you started with the first store. Every community and every neighborhood is different. So you have to adapt to your audience, to your customers, to your neighbors. And that's really, I found the biggest challenge. I thought it would be as simple as copy and paste, and that's it. We'll open up the second location. But what I learned is, no, you have to develop. You have to grow with the community. So every community, every customer base is different.
Does that challenge your menu and challenge, I just think of that as being somewhat of a logistical nightmare, right? Because some menu items may work one place, some may not in another. How do you balance that out?
What's good about what we do is, so every 6 months, we take the reports from every POS system we have in every location. And we dissect them, and we see what moves and what doesn't move. And we break it down per location. Or some stuff might sell more in one location than the other ones. I try to keep it the same menu between all 3 locations, and now with the 4th one. But sometimes I have to make minor adjustments.
Yeah.
There's certain desserts might not push in the first location. So I have to cut back on those desserts and introduce something else in that location.
So it sounds you're nimble,
Yes.
but 90%, 95% stays the same.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. So you create this brand, Pizza One. You're sitting there. It's been what, 20
years, 20 and a half years.
20 years, right? You're sitting down and you say to yourself, all right, we got to come up with a name. We got to come up with a brand. We got to come up with a vision, a personality, a point of view for this restaurant.
Absolutely.
Where did that come? Like, where did you start?
So Pizza One, I thought it'll be the easiest way for kids. I want to target families.
Okay.
I grew up sitting around the dinner table with my parents and my siblings every day for dinner, and I really wanted to do the same thing for the community. So when I thought of Pizza One, I want something that's easy for the kids to remember. Everybody remember pizza. Everybody says the word pizza. And also for search engine also. So the word pizza. And then
you were thinking about that 20 years ago?
20 years ago.
Good for you.
So I really thought about it, and I really wanted to stick with the kids' brains. What do you want to eat today? Pizza One. That's the easiest name to remember. So that's really where the name came from.
Oh, that's just and the number 1 was just what?
Just a simple number 1. That's it. Pizza One. You don't have to remember any other numbers, 3, 4.
No.
You don't have to think about it.
Pizza One.
Pizza One. That's it.
God, I love it. So now you mentioned customer service and innovation are what makes you stand out. So how do you translate those values into a consistent guest experience across the 4 stores? Now, you had mentioned, you got to be somewhat dynamic, but what else?
To really grow having the same staff. You really want to try to keep your staff staying with you. You got to make sure your staff is happy. You can't grow on your own, and you can't do everything yourself. So you need to develop a team around you that you trust and you value, and make them like family. And that's really how you can pass it down to all the stores.
And I could see that. I had the opportunity to sit down with you and your entire team and really see the dynamic and see how everybody sort of sits around the dinner table and communicates. And it is a beautiful thing to see. I mean, Dante, you did a hell of a job putting together the A team.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
The guys, they all started with me when they were young.
That's awesome.
As soon as they got their licenses, maybe they started as driver and then they moved up. So I have the same managers from day one.
Wow.
20 years. Some of the guys were still with me for 20 years. Every manager that runs each location and then the assistant managers been with me for that long, average between 12 to 20 years.
That's nuts because they say the retention, staff retention is just garbage for the most part, right?
Absolutely.
And it's expensive.
It is very expensive. That's what a lot of operators don't realize. It's cheaper to keep the same staff than train new staff. It's only in your benefit. Make them happy. You're going to grow. Help them grow with you.
Yeah.
Growing on your own is not going to happen. You need your staff. You need your management. You need to build that team.
Yeah. Yeah. I always equate that logic to frequent flyer miles. And I always say to myself, I will invest in you because you will either get it or you won't. And I usually can see the telltale signs of whether or not 9 times out of 10, they're going to get it. Right.
Yeah.
If you're a good coach, you're right. And you take that approach, I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out on top and that person's going to be with you a very long time. I think what happens is there's impatience. Maybe it's just not a fit. The alignment is not there anymore. And you have to part ways, right?
Absolutely.
But for the most part, you can tell. And I think you have that sixth sense. I know you enough now to know whether or not, you know whether or not you got a good egg from the get-go or you don't. And so when you're hiring, you're asking the right questions right out of the gate.
You have to. Your interview you have to think about your interview and what kind of questions you want to ask them.
Yeah.
Also, it all comes down to on you. You're the coach, so you can develop people. It's hard just to say, pick somebody off the street and say, you know what, this is my brand and this is what I want you to do. No, the guys who've been with me for so long, they actually understand what would I do in any situation, and they handle it the perfect way.
Yeah.
So you really have to develop a good team. That's what it all comes down to. Develop a good team, and it all comes down to on you as a coach.
Notice how he said coach, not dictator.
Exactly. You got to lead by example. 100%. You got to lead by example. I get on my knees and I scrub the deli case. If I got to clean the toilets, I go and clean. I'm not going to wait for my busser or to come and clean the bathroom if there's something going on in the bathroom. I do it myself. And that's when your staff sees that, you lead by example. They say, if the owner did it, why can't I do it? They're not going to say, I'm a manager, I'm not going to do that. No, Dante did it. I got to do it right away.
There you go.
So it really all comes down to the owner, to the coach of the team.
That's a great
point. To your leadership.
That's a great point. That's such a great point. All right, so this kind of leads into standing out, right? So what's one thing most restaurant owners get wrong about standing out in a crowded market, especially Northern New Jersey, this market here?
The market is huge, and it's hard to stand out on your own. As operators, our hands are full. You really have to hire a marketing team. You have to hire a marketing coach to work with you and understand what your goals are, and you have to trust them to take over and let them do their magic. Us operators, we didn't go to school for marketing. We don't know what's out there. Stuff changes every single day, especially nowadays. I actually had to look back yesterday. When did we start doing videos? And that was in 2012.
Wow.
So back to 2012, if you go on our YouTube channel, our old videos from 2012, that's when we started.
Oh my God, I got to check those out. Yeah. They're probably a riot.
Exactly. Back in the day, it was different. So we were just starting. A gentleman named Paul Postante, he approached me and he said, I said, what do you think about doing videos? I said, I like the idea. Yeah. He's like, that's how we can get your name out. He's like, using YouTube. And that's really how we started.
Dude, 2012, YouTube was like cat videos. It was not YouTube today.
It's definitely not. There wasn't no shorts or anything.
No. Oh my God. I wonder what was in that guy's mind. Was he a marketing guy?
He was a marketing guy.
Okay.
Now he moved on. He doesn't do marketing. He actually does film editing.
Okay.
So he develops stories for the towns and, does films about each individual towns, and he blew up that way. But, me and him really started with the videos. And then when we started doing that in 2012, we started seeing other people starting to follow a little bit.
Yeah. I was laughing because you mentioned that. And I said, we went on a couple conferences together. We went down, we met each other in Vegas. There was a conference over here at MetLife. And I was kind of the shadow of you and your brother. And I was watching the dialogue and the communication between you and the vendors and stuff. And there wasn't one vendor that came by that didn't say, dude, Dante, I love your freaking videos, man. Your videos are awesome.
And that's really what it comes down to. videos, I didn't know how to do videos. You need somebody to direct you. I'm a food guy. I love food, and that's what I'm a kitchen guy. I'm on the pizza table. I'm in the kitchen. We're grinding. So you got to leave that to the professionals. You need to hire a marketing company or a marketing team to work with you and develop your story.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that social media is how most guests find you. So what's been working really well for you on social? Obviously, we just started talking about videos, so the videos are engaging. If you ever go to their Pizza One, Pizza One NJ?
Yep.
On Instagram, go check out their videos. They are very well done. But what seems to be working well with them, do you think?
It's really introducing products to the customers and engaging with the customers. Let them see what we have. Everybody has a menu. The customer might sometimes look at your menu, glance at what they want to eat, and the first item they see that they like, they're like, oh, give me that. But they have no idea what's on the rest of the menu. So doing videos, introducing, like we do Dante's Picks of the Week, introducing different items that's on the menu, let people see them and what they look like.
Yeah.
And that's why you need a marketing team, because before that it was pictures. Pictures don't work anymore. Now it's videos. So you really, marketing team developed us throughout the years.
Yeah.
You know, we're always ahead of the game. You
Yeah.
know, with every company that I meet, from our cheese company, from our sauce company, they're like, Dante, you know, what's next? You know, even different operators I meet.
Yeah.
Wow, I've been following you on social media. I was so impressed. Who comes up with these ideas? Guys, I'm not, I'm only a pizza guy like you guys. It's really not my ideas, but it all comes down to hiring the right people.
Yes. You put aces in places.
Exactly.
And that is going to really help you thrive. I mean, I think that's the biggest chokehold that most people, I see it. You know, I have a few clients right now where they're their worst enemy and they are the bottleneck.
You know, I talk to a lot of guys in the business and I see, like, oh, this is easy. I can do a video and post it myself. Yes, but are you going to follow up with those customers when they like your videos, when they comment on those videos? Do you have the time to do that? No, you don't. Leave it to the professionals.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. That's where you start to, you know, 2 hands become 4, become 6, become 8.
Absolutely.
Right?
You don't want to respond to a customer a month from now. If a customer asks you a message on social media, you want a quick response.
Absolutely.
You're not getting, listen, a lot of times I do respond myself, but a lot of times I'm too busy or I'm, tied up with something.
Yeah.
But that's why a marketing team and understands you and your business will respond the correct way.
That's the biggest thing, right? You know, before I go into any venue, there is a deep strategy and discovery that takes place because I've learned the hard way. You know, you come in and you think you could just start posting right away. And then you get the phone calls and the text messages, dude, take that down. That's not us. You know, I don't get that anymore because the amount of discovery that takes place prior downloads all that information. And I think it's so important. And you get some operators that like they cringe. They're like, oh my God, this is like peeling back my fingernails going through this stuff. But I go, it's going to save you so much time, money, and energy after these 2 weeks. You're going to see it.
And that's what a lot of guys, they'll be like, I hired this marketing company and it's been a month and I haven't seen a difference. They think it's just going to happen overnight. It doesn't. Your marketing team has to know your story, has to know your products, have to develop with you and grow with you. In order for them to make you grow, they have to understand your culture. They have to understand your products. That's why a lot of people don't give it enough time. They're like, I'm not going to keep paying for this marketing company and I haven't seen any difference yet. They think it's going to happen overnight and it doesn't.
So this is a great segue into my next question. So how much of your social media content focuses in on storytelling versus just pure promotion?
80%. Honestly, 80% is storytelling. We don't use it to promote. For promotions, we do it through emails, text messaging, but our social media, we want people to know our products. We want to let them know, educate them about our products and the quality we use, and let them meet us and meet the staff, meet me, and understand who Dante is, what Pizza One is about.
Yeah.
And that's really it's important.
Yeah, I think people are connecting with you first, and then it's the food.
Absolutely.
I think they see how passionate you are when you do your videos and you're tasting the food and, you make your commentary. Again, and not only is it entertaining, but it shows your point of view. It shows how passionate you are about your business and your guests. Because if you weren't, would you really be doing it?
Absolutely not.
You know what I mean? Like, would you be spending that time in front of the camera? I know you guys could be doing 1,000 different things and not spending all that time, money, and effort into creating content, right? Because a lot of people still look at it as like a chore and it doesn't really do anything and blah, 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 blah. And it does,
It really does. It works.
Yeah.
If you're not doing your social media, if you don't have a marketing team, you're way behind.
Yeah.
And don't blame the economy. Don't blame COVID. Oh, don't blame people. Unemployment rates are too high. No, listen, people are going to eat every day. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's why your marketing company will help you grow.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to develop.
Yeah.
And by the time to get the word out, listen, when we started, if you look at our videos from the past, we used to get 10 likes, 1 comment, maybe 10 videos will have 1 comment. Now it's almost every video is hitting over 500 likes. It's being seen by thousands of people, and so many comments.
Yeah.
Now people are really engaging and responding.
Yeah. It's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times people use social media as like, a one-way street. It's a monologue to them. And I always say, no, that's the first mistake. It's a dialogue. You know, it's like walking down the street and somebody says, hey, how you doing? And you just, and they walk right past you.
Exactly.
And they don't acknowledge you. You know how that feels? Well, that's what you're
doing.
They will
never comment on your stuff ever again.
No, not only that, but I'm just, yeah, you're right. But what I'm thinking is like, let's take this into like a human real life situation. You're walking down the street, somebody says hello to you and and you just ignore them. What if somebody did that to you?
Absolutely.
It's the same thing.
It's the same exact
right?
thing.
It's the same thing. So you have to respond, good, bad, or ugly.
Always you have to respond. You have to respond no matter what the situation is.
Right.
And listen, and sometimes, you can't look at things to be, I teach my team one thing. Listen, customers going to complain. It's a good thing they complain. A lot of times customers will write to me and I say, please do anything you need. Here's my cell phone number. Here's my direct email. Reach out. If you see something wrong, I want to know. And I teach all my staff that these are opportunities for us. These are not complaints. These are opportunities to make us better. And honestly, the way we grew is part of the customers engaging and helping us grow. You have to listen to your customers. A lot of times, 95% of the time, they're correct. They are correct. You have to listen.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. Listen, you could be making the same mistake over and over and over and over again until somebody calls you out. And then they say, hey, did you ever think about doing it this way? And if it's got legs, might as well give it a shot.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it.
Exactly. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm on my own for 20 years. Before that, I worked with my father and his brothers. They had pizzerias in Manhattan, and I used to travel to Manhattan all the time. My father was one of those people that didn't want to hear complaints. I took it and ran with it. No, I want to hear complaints.
Yeah.
I want to take those and make them an opportunity for us to grow.
Yeah, that's the difference.
That is the difference. And my team is well aware of that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: if you could have a marketing team,
yes,
take one thing off your plate right now today, what would that be?
Honestly, it will be responding to reviews.
Okay.
And interacting with the customers, because like I said, a lot of times, I do answer all my emails. We do send out a lot of surveys. Every customer that orders gets a survey and rates us. And if there's anything we can improve, I like to listen. Mm-hmm. So I do receive all that. But what I like for a marketing company is to stay on top of my reviews and responding to social media comments, and if something that needs my attention, I need to be, told right away.
Yeah.
Because that alone takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Review management is a thing now.
It really is.
Back in the day, you could get away with not responding to comments or coming back nasty, right? Those days are over.
Those days are over.
I think OpenTable did a study where like 83% of people that are reading the OpenTable reviews will judge how the restaurant responds
100%
to the reviews to whether or not that we'd go to that restaurant.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Absolutely. 90% of the time when a customer complains, it's really not about the food. It's not about, they want to be heard. And that's what it comes down to. They want to be heard.
Yeah.
You don't know how many times, like with our story, how we met. I developed friendships with customers. They became part of the Pizza One family.
Yeah.
And that was my vision for Pizza One. I want my customers to know who I am, and I want our customers to know who my managers are and develop with us and grow with us.
Yeah.
Help us grow and grow with us. Without our customers, we can't grow. Without the bad comments, we can't grow and we can't learn how to make things better.
Yeah.
So it's
people
important.
See it. People see it, and then people also see what you ignore. I'll never forget this. Chicago, I'm CMO of a big hospitality group. We open up this new restaurant, and the first thing we start to see over and over and over again in the reviews is the acoustics. It's too loud in the restaurant. You got to shout to be heard, not only from the person you're dining with, but from the staff. The other thing was tables are too close to each other. What did the restaurant do? Nothing.
Oh.
The hundreds of comments, and here I am saying, guys, we have to do something about this. I don't care if it costs us $1,000. Take it out of my budget. Take it out of the marketing budget. Fix the friggin' acoustics and take 2 goddamn tables out of that row so people can breathe, right? Then they had these giant menus, 11 by 17 menus like this. So you put the menu up in front of you. God, the person you're dining with is gone.
It's gone.
Gone. Right?
And that takes away from the experience.
1,000%. So, until you start to see the reviews, like, guys, when are you going to fix the acoustics? When are you going to make it a little bit more comfortable in here? Because I ain't coming back until you do. So, honest to God, I was out of there before anything ever really got done. But people saw that and noticed that and said, they're tone deaf.
A lot of operators, they ask me, Dante, how'd you grow? How'd you make Pizza One what it is today? And honestly, my first answer is, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen to your customers, listen to your staff, listen to the people around you, listen to your team. Anything we do now at Pizza One, it doesn't just go by, I have to approve it. I sit down with my team, my managers from the stores, my brother, we discuss items, we discuss things, decisions that we do and make, because everybody has an idea. I never shoot down anybody's idea. I listen to them, and I tell you if it's a good idea, I tell you why. Wow, this is a great idea. Let's improve. And if it's a bad idea, I explain to you why I tried this in the past. It didn't work. And I explain it to you so you learn. So part of it is when you develop your team is listen to them and teach them to grow with you.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the marketing team. Like when we meet, me and my managers, I bring the marketing team with us. They have to be aware of everything we do and what's going on in the stores.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic I think, I need to shed light on is you can have the greatest marketing ideas in the world, but if the staff doesn't know about them, can't execute them.
And you have no idea how many places they advertise something and the staff have no idea what it is.
No clue. Did I tell you I did a little mystery shopping the one day?
No.
Did I tell you that? All right, we'll keep the client nameless, but we were doing a big event and I went in and I didn't tell anybody I was coming. And it was a wine event. So I purposely drank and had my guests drink red wine. And at the end of the dinner, I said, everything was phenomenal, but you forgot one thing. And she was like, what? I was like, you didn't sell me this wine event that's coming up. What wine event?
See, she has no clue.
So I said, okay, I take responsibility of that. That's me. That's on me. So I immediately emailed leadership and said, guys, we come up with these great ideas, but if the staff doesn't know about them, so what do you think of this idea? Give me a list of all the staff's phone numbers. I'm going to put them in my phone. I'm going to create text message teams. And now the marketing messaging will come straight from me. And then if they have questions, they could go to you or me. So now there's no excuse.
Absolutely.
And man, they love it. And it's once a week, it's twice a week, whatever it is. However promotions we got going out, that's how frequent I am with the staff. And the staff loves it.
But again, so that's all falls on the owner. So he hired a perfect marketing team, but they missed that opportunity. But now the marketing team caught it and they fixed it for you. A lot of times your marketing team, if it doesn't catch it, you're not going to catch it. And you have no idea because you're not on the floor with that server. You're in the kitchen, you're working. You're concentrating on the food. Yeah. And that's where a lot of operators lack of. Yeah. That's why it's really, really important. I can't drill it in people's head enough. Everybody that asks me, how'd you grow? You know what? You need a marketing team. You need a good marketing team. Communication is the key. Let the marketing team is a lot of work for them. If you're trying to take that on role yourself, then you're going to lack of management in your restaurants. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important to have a good marketing team and communication. We communicate with our marketing team all the time. We're in a group chat between the marketing company and all our managers.
Smart.
And then from there, we distribute it to all the staff.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same page.
Yeah, super smart. Super smart. And you have to trust who you hire and hire who you trust.
Absolutely.
I say that from the beginning. If it takes you 6 months to find somebody, let it take 6 months. But if you don't trust them, then you can't hire them.
Absolutely.
I learned that a long time ago. I would just hire people off the cuff, straight off the hip because, they were the hot thing at the time or whatever. And then you get underneath the hood and you're like, wow, you guys suck. Right. Or shame on me for not doing my diligence and digging in and maybe calling a few of their clients and seeing how they interact. Right. I think so, I'm big on reviews. I think I could tell if I'm hiring somebody of this magnitude, I go straight to the company's reviews. And I look at some of these marketing companies around here. They don't even have reviews.
They don't even have reviews. Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. You have no idea how many times we get contacted on social media by different marketing agencies. And they're clueless. They're from different states. They have no idea who you are. They have no idea. They just try to pitch not $199. We're going to take over your social media. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But you know how many guys fall for that? And they're like, oh. Or sometimes, listen, marketing company, it's important. And don't be cheap because if you hire a cheap marketing company, it's not going to work. Yeah. And sometimes what I saw, like I was talking to one of my friends who has a pizzeria and he hired a marketing company. And he goes, oh, I don't really feel like they were doing anything crazy, anything special. I said, how long did they work with you? He goes, a month. I said, in a month, you're not going to know anything. Yeah. I said, trust me. So he fired this marketing company. Since then, I saw him post once. It's been at least 6 months.
That's.
I'm like, now, customers are not going to come knock on your door. You have to introduce yourself and develop your story to your customers so customers can know who you are before they walk in the door. Besides reviews, besides everything else, people want to know who you are. What's so special about that pizzeria? Why would I walk into that pizzeria? You're missing out on a lot of business. Yeah. You're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hear proactivity versus reactivity.
Absolutely.
And I hear that you can't skimp on this part of the business because it's probably one of the most important pieces.
As operators, we spend a lot of money on using the best cheese, using the best tomatoes, using the best extra virgin olive oil. But then when it comes down to marketing, we want to be cheap. Don't.
It kind of doesn't make sense.
Does not make sense at all. You're wasting all that money to develop great food, but food is not enough anymore. It's food, service, marketing. Food is actually, to me, food is last. Because if you give good service, people will come in. If you market, people will know who you are. And then food is last because that's when they walk into the door after these first two things. When they start seeing your marketing first, then they see your service, and then they try your food.
Yeah.
When somebody walks in the door and they go sit at a table and the server does not go and greet them and introduce himself and takes time, what's going to happen? They're going to walk out. So they didn't even try your food yet. They don't know if your food is good. But how are you going to get them into the door? That's why marketing is important. So marketing is first, then it's your service, then it's your food. But a lot of operators, they miss that. They flip it. They say, my food is first. How are people going to know what your food tastes like?
Yeah. It's like the first 3 seconds of a video, right? If you can't hook them, then the rest of the video might as well not be there because they didn't see it.
Absolutely. And we actually did studies on this, with our marketing team. We did a video, when the chef is actually getting makeup, pampered. That video got a lot of views. It attracted me. What are they doing to the chef?
Oh, that's right. That was a funny one.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
Yeah, like they were dolling you up.
Yep.
Yeah. That was funny. I remember that one.
And we did another one with the police lights first, and that one got a lot of views. But that's why you need a marketing company. As operators, we don't know this stuff. Things change every day.
No.
Google changes the way they look at things every day. As an operator, you don't know that.
No.
That's why you need somebody who knows this business. Don't skimp out on the marketing team. That's really your number one to expand your business, develop your business, bring people into the door. When you skimp out on that, and what's the point?
Yeah.
Then you're going to complain. Oh, the economy is bad. Now you're giving excuses why you're not busy, why you're not making money. Oh, prices are high. Yes, prices are high. Inflation is high. But people still going to eat.
Yeah. Great book out there because that just triggered me. But there's a great book out there by Jocko Willink. It's called Extreme Ownership. I was that guy, D, back in the day. Woe is me. Not my problem. Not my fault. Can't be me. It was always the other person. I read that book. Completely knocked me on my ass. Now I'm the opposite. It's so funny. My wife goes, "Why are we getting stuff printed at the UPS store this morning?" That's a funny story. I go, "Because I forgot to print them with my regular printer. So now it's my ass. I got to pay double, but that's on me. That's not on the restaurant. As long as we have them for 7 p.m. tonight, that's all anybody cares about. So I'll pay double. I don't care if they charge me $500. That was on me. I'll never make that mistake again. I went home, I set reminders, and that's it. Like, you take ownership. So Extreme Ownership, great book. Highly recommend you get it because it's going to knock you on your ass and make you start to think, oh, wow, it's not everybody else. Everything, it comes down to you. I don't want to run out of time here because we're getting close to the end, but I want to talk about food for a second. I want to talk about a new item that you are rolling out, the cauliflower panini.
Yes.
What inspired that move?
What really inspired that move is, going for the healthy options, a lot of gluten-frees. A lot of people want gluten-free option. So our cauliflower is gluten-free. And we said, instead of having, if you want something light for lunch, the cauliflower crust is very light and it's gluten-free. So, there's a demand now for gluten-free, and for healthier options. So, pizza's pizza. Our pizza is the healthiest pizza for you because we're using all natural cheese and we're using sauce without citric acid in it. Our flour is unbrominated, it's unbleached. So we try to go the healthy route all the time. But this is on a whole different level for the gluten-free people and the gluten-free options. And it's very tasty. It actually blends in very good, with the recipes we designed, and I don't recommend it for everything, but stick with the recipes that we have, with the paninis that we design because it works very well with those paninis.
Yeah, so funny. You talk about gluten-free. We have a friend, Dante, goes to school with the son. My Dante goes to school with the son. They become dear friends of the family. And we go to Pizza One quite often, and she gets the gluten-free pizza because she has to. And she goes, nothing beats this gluten-free pizza at Pizza One. Like, you guys just got it dialed in.
We really did. Actually, it took us a while, but we actually, reached out to the manufacturer and we said we want to design a certain way. We want a little bit thinner. Usually they come actually a little bit thicker, and I didn't like that. So I said, how can we make it thinner? Well, not everybody wants it like that. So can you do them like that for me? I said,
That's one thing I love about you, dude. It was so funny. I was in recently with my son, and we got the pumpkin gelato. And it was to die for.
So good.
So good. My son, I thought he was going to take me out because I kept trying to get a little extra piece. And so I texted you. I said, bro, this pumpkin gelato is insane. And your response was, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I talked to the manufacturer and I got them to do XYZ to it to make it taste that way. And they listen. That's what I love about you.
Absolutely. And that's what I developed. That's why it's important to develop good relationships with your manufacturers and your brokers and your sales reps. To get things done the way you want them, you have to have connections and you have to build relationships.
Yeah.
And by developing a busy brand and our numbers are good, our sales are good, and we buy a lot of products, they will do whatever you need them to do to make you happy.
Yeah. You could tell. You could tell. And again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about listening.
Absolutely.
To your clients.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to everything you've built. What's the one decision that had the biggest impact on your success?
To realize I really can't do everything on my own, bringing my brother along with me and developing the team that we have. To me, an old man, Mr. Musamechi, I used to do landscaping. I used to cut grass in Sparta, before I even moved to Sparta. I did it one summer. And he told me, success, it's not money, it's not fame. Success is who else you bring up with you and how many more people you can make successful. And I took that and I ran with it. So the biggest, to me, is making my team successful as I am with me and being part of my family and the Pizza One family.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Last question. If there's one thing you'd tell a restaurant owner about building a brand that lasts 20-something years, what would it be? That? What you just said? Or something else?
That, for sure. But honestly, hiring the right team to work with you. Listen to them. They're the ones that went to school for marketing, for coaching, for developing. You know, I came across the restaurant boss. You know, this is just a quick story. The restaurant boss is out in California. Well, I met him in Vegas. Very nice guy. We hit it off, became friends. I brought him to Jersey. We sat down and we talked. And he goes, Dante, I had 4 restaurants, ended up in the hospital. I had a heart attack because of the stress. He goes, you need to build systems. You need to develop people around you in order for you to grow. You're not going to do everything yourself. And I listened to him. You know, till this day, we email all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's important, you know, again, hiring the right people. Yeah. You know, hiring the right team to listen to, hiring the right marketing team, hiring the right coaches to help you. You can't be in every employee of yours. You know, I have over 400 employees. So, like, you can't be in all their ears. You need to develop teams to get stuff across and let them know your culture. You know, I'm hands-on. Me and my brother are hands-on, and our management team is hands-on with every staff member. And I really get to meet all the staff, and I work with all the staff all the time in the different locations. You know, my brother handles the Wayne location, and now he's going to be working with Dylan, with our managers, with the Clifton location that we're going to be opening. Yeah. I handle the Spar location and the Haskell location. Okay. You know, working with my managers and working with the staff. But sometimes you need to hire that coach. Yeah. You know, to come along and see. Because a lot of times, it's like you walk into the store, you only see what you see every day. You bring somebody else from the outside, you bring a coach from the outside, they might see things differently. Hey, Dante, you know what? There's a little dust on that chandelier that you're not noticing. You know, that broom why is that broom hitting in that corner while customers see it? And a lot of times we just get blinded because we're so used to seeing it there. Yeah. But hiring a coach and somebody to work with you at the restaurant makes a big difference. Yeah,
they uncover the blind spots.
Absolutely.
They uncover the blind spots.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that a lot of owners lack of, and they miss out on this opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then they realize, why am I not growing? Why am I still why am I still in one location and I'm working 7 days? No time for my kids and family. You know, I was that guy at one point. Sure. You know, but not anymore.
Yeah, no, I feel like we all have to go through that chapter, that season of life and business. Because I remember doing 20-hour days.
Yeah.
And, you know, sleeping for 4 hours. I didn't even know who my girlfriend at the time was. You know, she was living with me, but we barely saw each other. Yeah. But look, we're here 18 years later, and we appreciate that work, you know, from each other. She's a workhorse as well. And but that's some of the things you got to do to get to where you want to be today. But I think that's a huge one. So last question, what's Pizza One look like for you in the next 3 to 5 years? Because you have location 4 in Clifton opening up soon. So what's that look like?
I mean, really now I opened the door for my managers. I said, whoever is ready to have his own store, you know, I'm willing to do more locations and, you know, bring them on as partners and have their own store to run.
I love that model. You know, because there's skin in the game, there's a relationship built, and the legacy continues with the people that you've grown with for 20-something years. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Dante, appreciate you, dude.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Guys, there you go. There are so many freaking takeaways from this one. I hope you grabbed one, because here's a guy, 20-plus years experience, been through it all, and still growing, still learning, still listening. And I think that's so important for all of us in the industry, but as business owners, that when you can be humble enough to take that feedback and actually do something with it, I think that's how you transform your business, but that's how you transform your life. So I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please drop a review. Please share this episode or this show with somebody that you think could benefit from it. And listen, if you ever need a hand in marketing, I think I know a guy. So give me a shout. You can find me on Instagram. You can go to my website, breadtotable.com, and let's have a conversation. Would love to see if I can help you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.